Matt, tell us what's going on with the Raiders right now.
All right. So in order to go forward, got to look at what happened last year. So in 2020 season, we finished 8-8. We finished second in the AFC West. Unfortunately, we had to. Our playoff scenario was in our own. We controlled our own destiny. We lost 3 out of the last 4 games, so really defined our season. And some quick stats. Derek Carr, 4,100 yards, 27 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. Josh Jacobs, 1,000 yards, 1,065 yards, 12 TDs. And our leading receiver was actually our tight end, Darren Waller, who had 1,196 yards and 9 touchdowns. I didn't mention any defense because we didn't play any defense last year. Now, for 2021 draft, we have 8 picks total, 2/3 and 2/5. No 7th-round picks. Our needs, O-line, we had 3 departures: Rodney Hudson, Gabe Jackson, and Trent Brown. D-line, even though we did have a free agent acquisition of Yannick Ngakoue, we still need help on that, particularly the defensive tackle position. But, this just to help with overall D-line with him and Mad Max. And our secondary, to put it plainly, they were awful. And giving our new defensive coordinator, that's a big emphasis on what we need to do in order to shore up our defense. Now, in regards to the first round, only listed, some players that are potentially be available. Tevin Jenkins, a tackle from OSU, Oklahoma State. If he were to fall, Elijah Vera Tucker from USC. I don't believe he will be there, but he's a great guard. I believe the best guard in the draft. Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah from Notre Dame, great prospect in the outside linebacker position. Zaven Collins, LSU. From Tulsa as a linebacker. And Greg Newsome, great DB from Northwestern. Now, we do have some second-round picks, second and third round. I'm going to go off a list of some players I feel like we could target that are possibly be available. Javon Holland, great safety from Oregon, very athletic and speedy person, and very rangy as well. Kelvin Joseph, I think there's potential for him to fall to the second round if possible. I don't believe there's a potential he may be available, but someone that we can possibly target. Asante Samuel Jr., and 2 players that potentially may fall. Brady Christensen from BYU, offensive tackle, and Dylan Redunce from North Dakota State University. In regards to second round, third rounds, those are players I feel like you can target, mostly in the second round. Now, for our burning questions, it's simple. What does this defense look like under Gus Bradley? He runs a 4-3 under. Really emphasizes the secondary as usually has a boundary and a field corner. Safeties, usually, we run a cover 3 concept, cover 3 under, keep everything in front of you. Let the D-line wreak havoc. Secondary, keep everything in front of you. We limit large plays, rush to the football. Now, burning question, team need is D-line and secondary. So that's something we really need to shore up in the draft. This really bodes well for someone like Jonathan Abram. The problem is he is a downhill player, which is good. We need big physical secondary in this defense. The problem is he makes boneheaded plays. He doesn't make the sure tackle. He wants to highlight hit. He doesn't wrap. That's something you need. So this defense, in order for it to work, is really good on physicality, but even much better on fundamentals. Something you saw with the Legion of Boom, which kind of inspired a lot of teams to kind of make variations of this defense.
Yes.
Now, in regards to the division, I'm predicting us to finish around second to third in the division. This team will go as far as the defense will go. Simply, that's pretty much it. Offense has issues as well, but for the most part, we don't have an issue scoring. We have an issue with stopping people from scoring. Every team's, offense doesn't keep going. Teams pull away. And we won. This isn't a good thing. A lot of track meets last year. We need our defense to make stops. And we will benefit from I think 2 things. One, new head coach in LA for the Chargers, as well as Broncos instability, really at the QB position. Depending on the draft, we'll see kind of what happens this year. But we benefit from 2 teams in our division, having issues. The Chiefs were going to be the Chiefs. We beat them last year, but the Chiefs were going to be the Chiefs. We were lucky in that game. In regards to the season prediction, so 10-7, 17-game regular season, and I think that's grounds for a possible wild card berth in the AFC. We played the AFC North and NFC East, which produced 7 playoff teams last year, or 7 games with playoff teams in our 2021 schedule. But that also includes teams like Chicago and the Washington football teams. So, playoff teams, whatever you want to call it. But in regards to finishing outlook, 10-7 wild card, obviously that doesn't mean, I don't believe we're going to make the Super Bowl. There's always a chance because remember, when all you have to do is get in, and we get in the postseason, anything can happen. I'm looking at you, Giants. But yeah, it's pretty much it for the 2021 season. And draft needs for Oakland Raiders. Las Vegas Raiders.
Might as well say Compton Raiders at this point.
Let's not say that.
So many names, my lord.
Fellas, any questions?
I have one question. It seems like there's a stigma with the Raiders over the years. When you guys were good, you guys are not. There's a penalty issue with you guys. You guys I think you guys are top 3 every single year in penalties. What is it about, even in game of our first game last year against you guys had like at least, I would say maybe 10 penalties, just bonehead plays. And I was just wondering, because it doesn't matter the regime, even with John Gruden there back in the day, or even Jack Dory or whatever, there has been an issue with you guys with the penalties and stuff like that. Do you think you guys can correct that at some point?
To be optimistic, I think we can correct it, but that's a culture issue. And, when you see a lot of the same cooks in the kitchen, you get the same results. We have John Gruden. There you go. Player coach, but not really, and this is something you usually see on defense, not necessarily on offense, really offensive-minded coach. Teams that have a defensive-minded coach usually tend to trend low in penalties. He's an offensive guy. It seems that that's something that's not really, he lets players do what they do, as long as they make plays. But sometimes, you have to, throttle that player to play within a certain system, or kind of reel them in, play how you should play, go all out in a controlled manner. And it seems like that kind of seems to be an issue with the Raiders. And I also do believe it's, we're the Oakland Raiders. Well, we're the Raiders, or, Las Vegas, whatever. That Raider mentality is 2021, man. You got to change that. I would love to have the stigma of, shut up and play, that you see in New England. We're not loud and brash. We show up to play and we play, rather than loud and rowdy. And this also doesn't help that, now we're in Las Vegas. So there's that stigma as well. But that comes down to the head coach and culture. And, if you allow that, that's how the team will perform.
Speaking of the culture, you have Mayock, who brings in a 380, 390 pound Trent Brown, right? You bring in Antonio Brown. You draft Cleveland Farrell over a guy that I really liked in Josh Allen. What do you feel like the culture is being built? It's tough. It's gritty. Every time I think of the Raiders, I think about Chris Berman and he's saying the Raiders, and it's that tough grit feel. But it's really, when we get down to the core of it, it's undisciplined, and I hate undiscipline. And it feels like that with kind of what Stefan was alluding to with the penalties. Is that the culture of the Raiders going forward? Do you feel like?
That's a hard question to answer because, the proof is in the pudding, right? That's what you see, and that's what it is. And I don't like to be optimistic and say that's not what it is, but that's what I see. So ideally, that's not what you see going forward, But the Raiders want to pride themselves on physicality. 3 yards in a cloud of dust, rushing to the quarterback, hit him in the mouth, which is fine when you have the personnel to do it, and when you have draft picks that develop into foundational players. That hasn't been what we've seen. We've lived and died by really just the offense of what Darren Carr can give us without being terribly, I won't say he's ineffective, but not the greatest quarterback with little to no help. We're aimless. Does that make sense? When you think of Seattle, what do you think of? When you think of the Colts, what do you think of? When you think of the Raiders, what do you think of? You don't think of anything because we're aimless. We don't have an identity. So what is that identity? You would think it would be, 3 yards in cloud of dust, and that's the case for the most. Sometimes, that's not really what we are. So it's like what, and unfortunately, that identity is the Raiders, which is an undisciplined. So we need to change that, and that kind of goes to culture. But once again, if the head coach and GM allows that, and it hasn't changed, I don't think that's something that's hard to fix. Especially when you have a new regime that's been in 3 or 4 years now. But like I said, the proof is in the pudding. That's what you see. That's what you see. And unfortunately, I would like for it to get better. As a fan, it's extremely frustrating because when I say, when we lose games, close games because we're Raidering, that's what we do. It's a verb. And it's annoying when disciplined teams get to the crunch time, situational mastery situations, they handle it. And it's something that we have yet shown that we can do. So, let's hope the 2021 season bodes well for us in that situation. Because that's the difference between us being 8-8 and 12-4 last year.
Yes. I love the Raidering verb. I saw that Alvin, his eyes pricked up when you said the Chargers are going to have a new coach, so that'll help us. Seemed like you had something to say, Alvin. If so, take it away.
I think that us having a new coach doesn't help you. It hurts you. But what I want to know is John Gruden on the hot seat right now, or when will he be on the hot seat? Because I know you guys gave him a 10-year contract, and since he's been here, he hasn't been to the playoffs yet. Can you tell me when exactly does John Gruden get on the hot seat?
John Gruden gets on the hot seat when we lose 5 or less games.
Okay.
I think Darren Carver will be on a hot seat before John Gruden because that's unfortunately where the Raiders have put their allegiance on is John Gruden, not actual players.
Ooh. Wow. That's
10 years says it all.
That's so nasty. 10-year, $100 million, fully guaranteed contract. Buckle up, Raider Nation. You're going to have a bumpy ride.